And now we close our program with the Vice President of Sustainable Development at the World Bank.
Thank you for a very interesting event. We heard today that digital agriculture is important not only to keeping the food system functional, especially during the pandemic, but also to building a future food system that is equitable, efficient, and of course sustainable. And we are not there yet. How can we support the efficient, equitable, and sustainable digital transformation of the agriculture food system? Some takeaways from today's discussion are that non-digital enabling factors are critical. Maybe that's the first point to make. Better connectivity infrastructure is essential to preventing a digital divide. We need to be creative in getting the public and private sector to work together to collect data and connect stakeholders, including through public-private partnerships with incubators. Governments need to embrace the digital revolution by investing in institutional reforms, data and use of digital technologies for service delivery. Government has a role in helping digital innovation reach farmers and in particularly smallholder farmers. Scaling high-impact innovation for smallholders includes creating the institutions to connect innovators and farmers. In this context, digital innovation hubs can be the infrastructure to link the stakeholders and support the scaling of innovation, because only if we go to scale do we really have a meaningful impact. We also need to get the regulatory environment right. Maybe that's the second point on data governance, but also to make sure that we allow competition in digital service provision. The issue of how to deal with an innovator's need to get access to data and at the same time make sure that the collection, sharing, and reusing of data enables a healthy competitive environment and respects privacy is critical to resolve. We also heard that data governance is a complex issue that many countries that are advanced in the digital space are still grappling with. Major issue in Europe, major issue in the US, everywhere in the world. Data governance, and that means data privacy and more generally the regulatory environment around data use and sharing and the question of data ownership is an issue that's not specific, of course, to the agriculture sector and is approached from an economy-wide perspective. However, it is an especially sensitive issue in agriculture, which is a sector that is often characterized by an imbalance of powers between farmers and agribusiness. And there are concerns that data might yet be another way to assert power over farmers. The private sector has been coming up with some solutions, including codes of conduct that create frameworks and define obligations within digital agriculture service contracts. But it is unclear to the state how effective they can be, as they're voluntary and might not apply across jurisdiction. And some governments, for instance, the Netherlands, are still wondering how to deal with the specifics of the agriculture sector. The good news is that the new institutional arrangements and technologies might also help provide new ways of sharing and managing data. For instance, data cooperatives can help farmers and have additional power over who can access their data. Institutional innovations such as pre-competitive spaces can also allow private sector companies to cooperate around common pools of data to support innovation. This is what Europe's trying to develop to support the development of the artificial intelligence. Governments can make better use of data for their decision making, but that requires investing in capacity building and data systems. Governments don't have to start from scratch. They can rely on information and analysis from satellites for their decision making. Soil maps and early warning systems are relying on remote sensing data and analytics that can inform Europe, but also African countries alike. Each Ministry of Agriculture should have a data officer to support the creation of farmers' registries and other databases which can support not only their own public service delivery, but also support connecting farmers and innovators. Data can help government better target their spending, the subsidy programs and support programs, and such make better use of public money. They can better target beneficiaries, but they can also better support environmental outcomes, which clearly needs to become the trend in the way governments support their farming communities if we want to achieve more sustainability. We need to better take into account the specificity of the agriculture sector to support its digitization and bridge the finance gap for innovation between pilots and seed funding and venture capital. The process of digitalization of the agriculture sector is different than in other sectors. Agriculture cannot be fully dematerialized. Even if new technologies such as vertical farming might ultimately decouple agriculture production from land, it still relies on tangible assets, and the testing of technologies is dependent on nature's cycle. We will need to get more patient capital into the digital agri space to accommodate digital technologies' need for iterations of testing and failing before scaling. Not everything will work right away. We know that, and therefore we need to have a finance package that can accommodate that. So what is the World Bank Group doing to support digital agriculture now and in the future? The World Bank Group is working in about 18 countries globally to support governments to develop data-driven digital ecosystems through analytical work and investments in partnership with technology companies, ag tech startups, agribusinesses, financial institutions, and other development partners. So we work with a broad network of players and actors in the space. The Bank Group supports governments to develop an enabling policy and ecosystem for data-enabled digital technologies in the agro and food space. This includes supporting governments to digitize farm data registries and a data platform, to integrate farm data, weather data, crop data, and transaction data to enable governments to use data analytics for public policy and decision making. We also work alongside our digital connectivity and infrastructure investments to build innovations and applications for agri-food systems. We also work with the private sector, as I said, including ag tech startups, agribusiness technology companies, food e-commerce, to incubate and accelerate innovations jointly with the IFC, which is also increasing its investments in the ag tech space. Maybe just at the end, a couple of examples of our work in digital agriculture. One was working with the Ministry of Agriculture in Morocco to develop a green agriculture program for results, which supports digitizing agriculture and food data advisory services, supporting digital technologies innovation through ag tech startups and the private sector in the areas of climate smart agriculture, precision agriculture, market intelligence, and food traceability systems. This also includes an open data platform for food and agriculture systems in Morocco to boost incubation and acceleration of digital agriculture opportunities. We're also supporting the development of a digital data and innovation ecosystem with the Ministry of Agriculture in Indonesia in partnership with technology companies like Microsoft, ag and fintech startups and agribusiness companies, with a particular focus on engaging young and millennial farmers. So with that, I hope I provided a bit of a summary of what you've heard during this very interesting session. And I hope that we find ways to continue to collaborate, work together, and put funding and our knowledge together to take this to scale for the benefits of our farmer and the future of our food system. Thank you very much.
Jürgen Voegele, Vice President, Sustainable Development at the World Bank. And that concludes our look at digital agriculture and new frontiers for the food systems. Thank you so much for your company. If you are interested in the work that the World Bank is doing in this area, where is the World Bank investing? Which countries is the World Bank supporting? Let me recommend that you go to www.worldbank.org/agriculture. Really easy to remember, www.worldbank.org/agriculture. Thanks for watching.